Hey, thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we are tracking storms across the northern plains and across the southwest today. We go back up to the Midwest for tomorrow, and we have a level 3 storm risk through the midweek on Wednesday. This is the biggest risk for storms this week on Wednesday, but until then, we've got a few little storms that I think will be something to watch. Now, brand new, Minneapolis was just included in the severe storm risk for today. So we extended this a little bit farther to the east into Minneapolis, almost to the eastern side of Minnesota. We have a level 1 risk for storms from North Dakota to South Dakota, a very small risk for hail in this area, better chances for hail farther down to the south. Tomorrow, we go into Chicago for storms. Now, this is a low risk, but if you don't get storms on Tuesday, you have another round of storms on Wednesday. A level 3 severe storm risk is very, very impressive for this far out. The likelihood for this to get upgraded to a level 4 risk is absolutely possible. So we could see a moderate risk for storms on Wednesday. St. Louis included in that level 3 risk right now. That was highlighted there in orange, and then we have another round of storms along the East Coast on Thursday. So we've got a pretty busy weather week. I don't think that we expected it to be this busy, and it's really shaping up to be very, very active. So let's go ahead and start with your wind forecast for today, anywhere from Bismarck to Aberdeen, and just brand new Minnesota, Minneapolis included in that wind risk for today. Actually so new, we didn't have enough time to update our graphics, so this is what we have. We've got storms all the way through the southern portion of Kansas, Colorado, New Mexico, Texas, and the panhandle of Oklahoma today. Now that'll be your best chance for an all hazards risk, including that tornado risk and that hail risk in this area. It's a small tornado risk for today, just in the northeastern portion of New Mexico. And then for that hail risk, not everyone's seeing hail here. However, I do think that afternoon storms could get strong enough to produce a little bit of large hail. We're talking up to the size of 2 inches. So we'll call it large hail. I know some of you out there don't say large hail until baseball size hail. I would say baseball is very large hail. But let's go ahead and let's talk about these storms that are forming right along I-25 today, tracking to the east through the afternoon hours this afternoon, anywhere from about 2 to 6 o'clock for the largest hail sizes. As these storms continue to track into Texas, we'll start to see that hail risk go down, although a few lingering storms can't be ruled out into the late and overnight hours in Kansas. Again, forecasted max hail size for today up to 2 inches in size. That's the size of a hen egg, just smaller than the size of a tennis ball. I don't know if we could get up to tennis ball size hail today. Again, that hail risk will mainly be in the Clayton and Tucumcari area. That'll be in New Mexico, all the way to the panhandles of Oklahoma, Texas, and southern Kansas. A few lingering storms in southern Kansas could give us some larger hail later on tonight. And then, of course, that hail risk just barely goes into Minneapolis today as we go farther up to the north, anywhere from Bismarck to Aberdeen and Fargo, a low risk for small hail. Not expecting a ton out of these storms up to the north. We can talk about the timeline here. Anywhere between about 1 and 2 o'clock, we'll see storms start in the middle of North and South Dakota, right in the center of the state. They'll continue to track to the east as we head into the evening hours tonight. And again, a little bit of hail could pop out of this, but for the most part, most of these storms will stay non-severe. Enrique asking, are we getting any hail in DFW anytime soon? So here's the thing, and Oklahoma is in this exact same boat. We've got the dew points, we've got the rain just down to the south of us, so this is your flood outlook. What's going to happen for Oklahoma and Texas is that we've got the heat, especially over the next few days. It's getting warmer. We've got the moisture. What we need is some form of lift, a low pressure system, a short wave, a trough coming through. That's what we're lacking right now, is we're lacking that lift to push that air up, and you know the drill here, what goes up must come down, and that's whenever we get storms. We just don't have that right now. If we could get some sort of low pressure system in here, some sort of short wave, then we could see storms. So for the Oklahoma and Texas severe weather risk, and Arkansas is included in this boat as well, southern Missouri also included in this boat, what we're waiting for is just some sort of mesoscale system to come through. Oftentimes that's extremely difficult to forecast. So we may not know if we're going to get storms until the storms are happening. There is no good guarantee for severe weather in Dallas over the next few days. Short answer, probably not getting severe storms over the next few days in Dallas. Long answer, the ingredients are there. We're just waiting for some sort of lift to happen. Anyway, talk about 24-hour rainfall. We've gotten tons of rain down in Texas and Louisiana today. You're going to get more rain over the next 24 hours. You saw that red popping up on your flash flood risk. Houston is in that red zone for widespread or numerous flash floods likely across Houston, central Louisiana, eastern portions of Texas, and far southern Texas. Not only today, but also tomorrow for those severe storm hazards. And then we have another round on Wednesday as well. We've got another round farther up to the Midwest on Wednesday. Again, that's that very widespread severe weather event that we're expecting through the midweek. And then, I mean, that rain just does not budge. This is a very, very soggy system that's moving through the Gulf Coast. So I talked about lift earlier. Where is that happening at? There's your low pressure system up in Canada. Here's your trough that's moving through the Midwest. That's why we have storms more likely up there. Every now and then we get these little short waves, and so that's what's coming through places like New Mexico, Colorado, Texas, and Oklahoma today. If we could get something like that in Dallas, then we have a potential for storms in Dallas, but it's going to be a low chance, okay? And we probably won't know until the day of. Moving on, let's talk about storms tomorrow now. Now tomorrow those storms are going to be isolated severe, a few severe storms possible in Chicago, northern Indiana. You're going to have multiple rounds of rain, so it could be pretty soggy in the Midwest tomorrow. You've got rain in the morning, you've got storms in the evening. This is going to be a similar setup for Wednesday as well, rain in the morning, but severe weather in the evening. And this severe weather in the evening on Wednesday is going to be the most concerning. You can already start to see this cold front, or this boundary, I think is a better word for it, setting up from Iowa all the way down into Kansas City, potentially reaching as far south as Wichita, Kansas. Few storms ahead of that boundary, few storms behind that boundary as well. But we're really watching for storms right along the boundary and slightly ahead of it. You can see by 4 o'clock really how these storms just explode across the region. Again, this is Wednesday afternoon with that level 3 severe weather risk. And all hazards risk here. Multiple tornadoes are possible, some very large hail also possible, but I do think that one of the biggest risks here is going to be that wind potential, especially as these storms get farther down to the south into places like St. Louis, Indianapolis, and Cincinnati. We'll take a look at your severe weather risk for Wednesday here in just a few minutes. I'm going to get through Tuesday first. Some small hail is possible, widespread severe, not likely. Few of these could go severe, few of these could produce quarter size, maybe up to ping pong ball size hail. If you're lucky, maybe you could get up to 2 inches for your largest hailstone on Tuesday. But things change on Wednesday. Instead of seeing this isolated severe weather risk, we're going to see a much widespread severe weather risk. Man, I really struggled through that one, didn't I? Significant hail model, not too impressive on Tuesday. Let's move forward. Let's talk about Wednesday. Low tornado risk on Tuesday as well. I think that tornado risk is very, very low tomorrow. Let's move forward. Let's talk about Wednesday now. What we're going to see on Wednesday is we're going to see a better chance for widespread severe weather. And that, of course, brings with more intense hazards across the region. We're talking about that large hail possible in areas like Iowa, Missouri, the western side of Illinois. Areas that just got hit multiple times last week could get hit once again on Wednesday. We have large hail possible in this area. Right now, I have up to golf ball size hail. This will most likely get upgraded to baseball size hail. Anywhere from golf ball to tennis ball, maybe up to baseball size hail in this area. We just don't have a ton of information quite yet. You'll probably see this area expand and probably level up as well. Your wind risk is going to be a lot more favorable farther down to the southern edge of this risk. So we're talking about St. Louis and Indianapolis. Chicago, some strong winds are likely as well. I think that there could be an area in here, just given how strong the low-level jet is. This is something that Martin and I talked about a lot this morning. We have a very, very strong what we call jet streak. What that's going to do is that that's going to enhance the wind risk on Wednesday. What that means is that we could see some really strong winds, stronger than 75 miles an hour. Where exactly? Again, it's a little too soon to tell. And for that tornado risk, now the Storm Prediction Center doesn't have an exact tornado risk yet, but I went ahead and did my best to where I think that that tornado risk will be most prevalent, and I think that'll be anywhere between the eastern side of Iowa to western Illinois, just before you get to Chicago, but still Chicago included in that level 1 risk, Kansas City also included in that level 1 risk. Similar to the other hazards, this most likely will get expanded and maybe even level up for that tornado risk as well. I'm waiting to see what the National Weather or Storm Prediction Center does with that. So there's your severe storm risks. John, do we have any questions as we kind of go back through what we're expecting for today and tomorrow? One question. Okay. Austin, Texas. Yeah, you guys are getting rain in that area, but the likelihood for hail is going to be very, very low. So not expecting any hail in Austin, Texas. All good on questions? As always, let us know where you're watching from, because obviously we talk about a lot of different areas across the U.S. Again, today, a few isolated severe storms. What we're talking about here are mostly smaller hail. Any of those larger hailstones is going to be down across New Mexico, Oklahoma, Texas, Colorado, and Kansas state lines. Tomorrow, again, it's going to be more of a wind day. An isolated tornado or two is possible, but not likely here. Your big severe weather day is going to be on Wednesday afternoon. Anytime after about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we're going to watch a boundary come through, and that's going to create more of this widespread severe weather risk. Denver also out of the severe risks over the next few days. Denver is not in a great place for severe weather. Kansas City, yeah, Kansas City has to keep an eye on Wednesday. That'll be your big day, is Wednesday. Wednesday probably just before your evening commute. So this could be something that you're keeping an eye on as you drive home. So keep an eye on Kansas City on Wednesday. We don't have an exact timeline quite yet. It's just still a little too early to get those exact timelines, but make sure that you are keeping an eye on storms, because you guys are going to be in not only that hail risk, but I have you guys in a level 1 tornado risk as well. You're going to have a boundary that stretches all the way across this area, all the way into Wichita, and that'll be where we're expecting the most severe storms, right in this area. Great questions. Any last minute questions before we? Okay, so we want you guys to know June has been very, very busy. We're officially halfway through June, today being June 15th. And I want to look at how that compares to what we saw for severe weather in May. And for that, I'm going to bring in meteorologist Martin Lowrimore. Martin, tell us what the difference between how we saw storms in June versus what we're seeing now, or what we saw in May versus what we're seeing now in June. Martin.
Yeah, we kind of had a bit of a slow May. It was well below average for normal that we usually see for that May. And as we really look into our June, well, things have been a little bit active for this June. We've definitely tried to make up for the May that we've already had, and now see what we're looking at for June. So let's see where we stand for our May. Now, these numbers right here didn't actually have the ability to fit the averages on here, but we were below average on all 3 categories. We were way below average on tornadoes and hail, and just a little bit below average for our high winds. Now, let's look ahead to what we're seeing so far for this month so far. Again, like Taylor said, we're sitting on the 15th here, so we're halfway through June 2016. We are just behind last May full, about 60 behind. Hail, we got sitting around averaging about 430. The biggest thing though, we've had a lot of wind events already this June, and that means we have already eclipsed all of last month's wind report. So we're going to extrapolate out the rest of this year into what we're going to be expecting for our June. So we compare this with our May and our June here. We see May 172, 230 for estimated for our June. When it comes to our hail, 780 currently. Estimated, actually, that should be much. No, wait, yeah, that's right, 858. I got my numbers mixed up a little bit there. And then as we get into our winds, which is extremely impressive for our June, 1,907 for this May, over 5,000 expected by the end of our June. Now, are we expecting this to stick around for, you know, the very active weather pattern we've been having this past week and for the next few days? Yes and no. So we're kind of seeing a little bit of both worlds there. As Taylor was mentioning, we are going to be seeing more of this activity, especially on that Wednesday. This low pressure right here, provided with the jet streak that you can't really see in this current model right here, but that jet streak, current models have it like 85 knots, which is almost about 100 miles an hour of those low to mid-level winds. Very intense. I would not be surprised if we add a couple more hundred wind reports later on as we get into that Wednesday across the Midwest and parts of the Ohio River Valley. Now, this high pressure, though, you're watching it right now, right there. It's sitting over in the Pacific. It's going to be slowly but surely moving its way through. And by the time we get into our Friday, it's that Father's Day weekend, we're seeing high pressure really developing. We could still see this low pressure right here providing a little bit, enough of those storm chances across the northern plains and again in the Midwest. But this high pressure really begins to dominate as we get into our next work week. Again, we're about a week out, so you could take this with a little bit of a grain of salt, but usually these large scale models that we're looking at, very generalized weather, just your what we call our 500 millibar winds, these are not necessarily things that we don't discount at the end of just 1 week. We usually do look at these for the first time as we get into our extended forecast, and the forecast is showing high pressure not just staying, but also intensifying as we get into our end of our June. So are we going to continue this current trend through the end of the month? My opinion, probably not, but if we do keep up with that pattern, I would not be surprised if we actually do maintain the current course just with a couple of these wind events that we could be having. Again, models aren't perfect, but the heat dome, the death ridge, whatever you want to call it, it definitely looks like it's going to try to make an appearance late June. But we were also talking about that kicking in this past week, and we saw it delay a little bit as well. So it's still a little bit in the air, but we are absolutely going to be watching for another very busy week for at least this week, and maybe a little bit of a drop off as we get into our last week of June. But all things are told, Taylor, we are still looking at a very, very active June in general.
Martin, yeah, so from what we've seen so far, it's been very active at the very beginning of June. May was pretty quiet this time of year, or for this year, compared to what we normally see. So thank you, Martin. We appreciate that breakdown. This high pressure system, will that stop our storms? We'll have to see exactly when that sets in. But that high pressure system very, very often will set in by the end of June, early portion of July. If I remember correctly, last year it was the third week of June that we finally got this high pressure system to really park itself across the southern U.S. Okay, let's talk about extended temperature outlook. We're going to be a little bit cooler than normal and across the Midwest as we head into the end of the month. So what this means essentially is, could you still get warm weather? Absolutely. It's June. You're going to. But are your heat waves going to be as intense as what you normally see in June? Most likely not. Temperatures will trend below average, especially for places like Chicago and Minneapolis that are in those darker blue colors. What about the rain? Well, it does look like we're going to see some very, very active weather across the central portion of the U.S. So we're talking about anywhere from West Texas all the way up to Illinois and Indiana. More rainfall than what we normally see this time of the year, which is also good news because we would like to get out of this drought. I know a lot of people have been talking about the drought, and I know that we would like to continue to see that rain move in. That also means the potential for severe weather will stay there. So we'll see. We'll see what happens for the end of June. Thanks for joining us today. We have a very, very busy weather day on Wednesday. So come back for your forecast tomorrow to get those most up-to-date details on that big outbreak that we're expecting on Wednesday. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, or give us a call for a weather map. All those storms that happened this weekend are mapped at HailTrace.com. We had very strong winds, 79-mile-per-hour wind gusts in Kansas City this weekend. We had storms on Friday, storms on Saturday. So we've got all of those maps at HailTrace.com. Give us a call at 855-334-4245 or email us at info@HailTrace.com for more information on that subscription. Thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we'll see you back here, same time, same place.